You've been practicing law for how long now in family law?
Nonstop for the last 16 years.
Wow, it's a pretty good track record. And I guess so. What would just from I guess from your experience, from your clients, your practice, and maybe colleagues in the area, aside from things that are egregious like physical or emotional abuse, all of those things that are pretty cut and dry that someone wants to get a divorce. What reasons are you seeing for most people coming to the realization that their marriage is over?
It's going to be oversimplified. It's just communication.
Right.
And it's death by a thousand cuts.
Huh.
If you take, like you said, all those big things aside, married couples really don't do things to purposely hurt the other person. Now, that doesn't mean that you haven't been hurt by your spouse. Of course you have. They've said something, they did something, or they didn't do something that you thought they should have done. So the real trick in a relationship is when that happens in real time, you have to stop and say, this is what I heard you say, or this is how I felt when you did X. It's not about them. It's about how you felt. And so when you can say it that way, like, I just heard you say this and this is how it made me feel, did I hear that right? And I will share with you, when I say that to my wife, she's like, "Oh my God, that's not what I meant at all."
Right.
Right? And then she'll make a joke and say, "I meant it even worse." And then I start laughing. Right?
Right.
But to be able to communicate about that in real time, and also to be partners in the relationship, and to make sure the other party knows what you're bringing to the relationship, and to understand what they're bringing to the relationship. So I cannot tell you how many people have walked into my office and said, "I've been raising the kids for 12 years. I have no idea what our financial picture looks like. I swiped the credit card. It's never got declined. I'm assuming they're being paid."
Right.
Right? So you need to be able to sit down with your spouse once a month and say, where are we on our bills? Where are we on, the mortgage? How much do we have in investments? How much money do you make? Where's it coming? I want to be able to see the checkbook and talk about it.
Right.
People just don't do that because they get busy raising the kids and the other person's bringing home the money, or you're both working and you're both sharing in those responsibilities.
Yeah.
But typically, people tend to fall into patterns on what they do in the relationship. You guys need to have those conversations.
Wow. Wait, and you even said something earlier in that answer that no spouse specifically is trying to hurt the other person. Did I phrase that correctly?
Yeah,
And
very
that
rarely.
itself seems like pretty revolutionary because I would assume at the end stage of a relationship, there's so much contempt that's built in that you would think some people are specifically trying to hurt the
Oh,
other
at
person.
the
So
end stage, sure. Once you hire the lawyers, they'll be like, "I want to burn it to the ground. I want them to suffer." But you ask me, how do they get to my office, right?
right,
They get to my lack of communication, lack of transparency. Now, look, some people just grow apart, but part of that's communication. Some people, they have a very difficult time dealing with a situation. God forbid this happens to any of our listeners, but
yeah,
death of a child, right? That's just hard to get over. Okay.
right,
Having a special needs child can be very stressful on relationships. Just because it takes so much time and you're going to the doctors and you're doing the best you can, and how you deal with it can be different and create conflict between parents. So there's a lot to this. But I think early in a relationship or through the years, people aren't intentionally trying to hurt the other. But boy,
right.
there's a lot of hurt in a lot of relationships.